have, if you don't want to guys confused, I hope that clarifies your confusion. There's nothing complicated that we're going through. We don't even get into the complicated stuff yet, and you're already sweating. You know, so don't sweat it at all. Don't get, if you're already getting confused over here, then what if we jump into the command line interfaces on the routers and the switches, or managing our routers and switches? And you're gonna be a lot more confused. Okay, so let's make sure we are all on the same page. It's just basic services that we're basically enabling right now. Before we move on to the key configuration part, where you need to understand what Cisco commands are and how to manage Cisco devices. Okay, for the network engineers. So if you're gonna go into network engineering or network administrator or administration, whatever it is, you're gonna have to learn some of these vendor proprietary command line interfaces through the certification programs. Okay. All right. So as you've noticed, all of the devices on this side over here are all green in terms of their cable connectivities. So that's a good thing. And they're all green mostly because switches by default have got enabled interfaces. So by default, the interfaces are always enabled. They are always good to go. Once you plug it in and it's an IP, or once the very moment you plug a cable into them to a PC, they're good to go. They'll be able to exchange packets back and forth. Okay, so that's why you see all the green sign, meaning that the interfaces on all of this, on all switches by default have been enabled. Okay. Okay. So now let's try and go into the switch and learn a little bit about, okay, before that, for the router, if you notice for the router, you know that it's red. And that's because a router's interface, for security reasons, by default, is not enabled like the way it is for the switch. That's the reason why the switch has got all greens, but the router has got red to indicate that by default, its interface is not enabled by default. Okay, so know the difference: green, red. Green for the switches automatically, so by default they are enabled interface, and with routers by default they are disabled interfaces. Okay, so now let's learn a little bit about Cisco commands. So I'm going to go into Cisco device and then see what we can do with it. So we learned a small bit. Now, most of Cisco switches are managed switches, which means that you can actually control just about every single interface or port or add other services within the switch itself. Okay, so hence it's manageable. You can control it. Okay, you can minimize the 10 by 100 to whatever size you want. Make it if you want to minimize it from 100 to 10 meg or 2 meg, you can do all of that on the device because it's what? Manageable. Okay. So let me click on that. And to get to the command line interface of any of this manageable network devices, you go to the CLI, which is the command line interface. So this is where you'd have your Cisco commands. So when you first log on to a Cisco device, you would see a greater than sign. Okay, the greater than sign in front of the name of the switch, which is the default switch name, it tells you that you're at a given level within the device iOS command line configuration. And the greater than sign tells you that you are at the access level. So this is where all access for logins are all configured at. For login to terminals, remote services, login accounts are all more or less accessible at this interface. Whenever you see the greater than sign, it means you're at the access, the user access level. To move on to the second level, you need to use a command, and the command here is enable. Enable puts you into the what you call the privilege level. So the privilege level will start with a hashtag. Whenever you see a hashtag, it means that you are at the privilege level. The privilege level allows you to basically check status of the device, check status of settings on the device itself. If, for instance, if you want to show the various how long the switch has been on, or what kind of interfaces, how many interfaces are on a device, how many, what's the RAM size, what image that it's using to run its OS. It's all shown on the show command line at the privilege level. Okay, so when you see the hashtag at a privilege level, and to see those features of the switch, let's type show version. So you type show version, and then that will tell you. So initially, it will show you the. It tells you it's a Cisco software. That's the image that's on it. The version 12, and a release software. Copyright information. When it was compiled. So this was compiled in 2005. So an old image. The RAM that's running the image. System, whether system is powered on or not over here. Memory size. The number of ports, we have 24 fast Ethernet ports, and then which are 10 by 100 in bandwidth, and then 2 giga Ethernet ports, which are 1000 megs, and then other information that relates to the board, power source, model numbers, serial numbers, hardware, what have you. So it gives you, the show version command gives you an idea at the privilege level of what kind of device and what kind of services that you can access. So you can show other services as well, okay? Now the other level, the third level, is the configuration mode. If you want to configure anything on the interface, you have to be in the configuration mode. And to get to the configuration mode, you have to type configure terminal. And once you do that, it will show you will see a config command within parentheses telling you that you are the third level. Someone said, hi, sir. I please believe you be the videos on the Moodle page. Huh? I would have to, yes, I would upload the video onto the, I would do that. Benjamin, yes, I would do that. So don't worry. That's the reason I'm recording it. Okay. So when you see the config within the parentheses, it tells you that you are at the the configuration level, which is the third level of the Cisco device setup levels. So we have the first one was the access level, the user access level, which had the greater than sign. The second one was the hashtag, which is usually accessible via the enable command. And that's where you'd have to, if you want to basically check on various settings and service on the switch or a router, you can do that from the second level. And then the third level is the configuration, where you actually want to configure various services on a device. That's where you have to be on the configuration level. Okay, so like for instance, I want to change the name of the switch, and I have to type. So one way you can always type whatchamacallit. If you don't know what kind of command to type, just use the question mark sign. It'll give you a number of information on the key command that you can use at that particular level. Okay. So, anyways, I want to change the name of the switch, and the command is to what? To say host name. That's the command to use. Host name. You type the name of the switch that you want to use. So in this case, I want to change the switch, the default switch over here name, to something more like main SW. So if you notice, it's from switch name, the default switch has changed to what? Main SW. Okay. And then there are other cool stuff that you can do over here as well. Like for instance, I want to turn off an interface. Like for instance, I want to turn off PC0's interface. I have to first know what kind of interface that PC0 is on first. So let me see if I can check the interface of PC0. PC0 is connected to interface 01. So it means that if I were to go into interface FA01, which is the name of that interface that PC0 is connected to, so I'm not on that interface, I'm directly on this interface here. Now I can either shut off the interface or basically decrease the bandwidth for that interface. It all depends on your configuration setups. Okay. So next, I want to shut off the interface. Now currently notice it's green, which is up and running. But if I want to shut it off, remotely, the command to do that is just type shut down on that interface, and watch, it's gone red. So now it has gone red. It means that interface is now disconnected in a way. Logically, it's disconnected. Even though physically it's connected, logically it's been disabled. So there's no packet that can go through from the switch to this PC, or from any machine to this PC, basically. Okay. And there's so many reasons why some of these can be done or can be implemented. For instance, I was using a scenario where, let's say PC0 was accessing unrestricted sites like porn sites or YouTube video during working hours. Then you can just, once you notice that on your system that an interface has been accessing a particular packet, which is either a porn packet or a YouTube or social media packet during working hours, then you can always go into the interface and then do the shutdown. And once you do that, I guarantee whoever is using that machine will call you the IT guy. Will call you, hey, the IT guy, I just realized that my network has gone off. I don't have internet. That's what they usually say. I don't have internet. What's going on? And then you will notice that, hey, this is the guy that's actually what's accessing porn on his computer or accessing social media sites during working hours. So you can basically tell him that, hey, Master, I realized that you're accessing porn or social media sites during working hours. That's the reason why I shut off your interface remotely without even doing it manually. Okay, so the IT guy is to be smart. Supposed to configure your interfaces so you can access them remotely, or your devices, so you can be able to access them remotely anywhere you find yourself and be able to manage them. Okay, so you tell me, I noticed that that's the reason why I shut off your interface. So I'm going to give you the rules and the policy of the organization. You're not supposed to be watching porn or YouTube videos during working hours. If you do that again, I'll report you to management, and then you're going to get queried or fired or suspended. Okay. So once he got that agreement, then from now onwards, from that point onwards, he would know what kind of information to be out. He would know not to access porn or social media sites during working hours. And then you can just go back. By the time he gets back, you just turn on his interface for him. And to do that, you just type no shutdown on that same interface after he's gone. And then watch, it becomes green again. So the interface is up and running now. So now you can now access other services besides the porn or the social media sites or YouTube, whatever, YouTube videos. Okay, so that's one way to just manage users. It's a difficult way to do that manually, but if it's for a small organization with small number of users, yeah, you can do that manually. But if it's a big organization with maybe 500, 500 users, ideally, you're supposed to configure access lists to manage some of these unrestricted size access by your users. Okay, you have to be a smart engineer. Keep that in mind. You have to be smart at your work. As an IT, as a network engineer, you must be smart. Don't do things the hard way. There are so many ways you can set up your system to make sure that your work becomes a whole lot system by just putting together scripts, access lists, filter packets, filter designs, filter systems in place. That will manage your system for you automatically without you even doing any work. You can sit back and enjoy your workflow or your work. Okay? Great. So we got that out of the way. And if you want to go back to the initial, to other, the previous levels, just type end, and will put you all the way to the next level. And that end will basically put you back to the access level. So now I'm at the privilege level, and that end will put me at the, oh, I thought the wrong command. Okay, so let me go over there, do some shout outs, physical, modules, attributes, interface, what have you. Okay, we'll go back by itself. It's looking for a DNS, which I didn't type in. I didn't configure in there. Okay, so now we know we can manage switches via the command line interface, what have you. Now let's go to the router now and assign an IP address to the router and then enable its interface. So currently we can obviously access all of our devices that are here on this side on the network, but obviously we can access our gateway because first of all, the interface is disabled, and second of all, it has no IP address. So let's go ahead and put an IP address somewhere to enable the interface. So the same thing, you go onto it. Now, since I'm not using this interface over here, I want to cover them up. The interface that supports either serial connections or whatever, I'm not going to be using it. So I want to cover them up. So before DAS gets into it, okay? Just on a physical implementation, always make sure they cover it. But they do come already covered. It's just as on this, it's open up. And to cover, you can use this cover over here. But before, they have to shut off the device by turning the power off. And then you can pick the cover, place it on it, pick the cover, and it's covered up. So you only have your Ethernet ports to help you with your connectivities. And then once you're done, you can enable and turn the router back on again. And then go to the CLI, and you'll notice that it's basically loading the image. No. And then, well, as usual, the same thing, you are at the access level because of the greater than sign. Enable to go to the privilege level, and then config terminal, config T for the configuration. The first one is change the host name to main -RT, main router. So the name has also changed to RT from the router default. Okay. Now to assign an IP address, you obviously have to be at the configuration mode. Okay. And to do that, you just type IP address, address, question mark. Oh, okay, I have to build an interface first. Yeah, I know why. So you have to pick an interface that you want to configure an IP address on. In this case, it was supposed to be interface G 01. So I'm on that interface now. I can do an IP address, and then I send an IP address of 192.168.10.1. And it's supposed to be /24, which is 255.255.255.0. And then once you do that, you just enter. So the IP address has been assigned. But if you notice, it is still red because I've not enabled the interface first yet. So once you assign the IP address, then you can now enable the interface by using the no shutdown command. And then watch, it's now green. You notice that? It's now green now. So that's a good thing. Okay. And then I need to write, every time you do a configuration, you have to write to memory. Okay, so that means that now, you see everything is green now. It means that basically now you can actually try and see if you can access other devices. So in this case, let's try to access our gateway from this PC here. So I'm going to try to ping the gateway to the router's interface. So ping from PC0, 192.168.10.1. It's responding. So it means that now packets can flow from this PC all the way to the gateway before it goes out to the outside interface for internet connectivity. So obviously the same would apply to the server as well. The server wants to basically try to see if we can ping its gateway. Same thing, ping 192.168.10.1, right? And respond as well. And then what if we are to be on the router? Can we ping as well? Can also do a ping over here, 192 to server, 168.10.5 is the server. And watch, there's a response back, says round trip, 5 packets sent, 100% response back. It took about a minimum average second of 0 seconds. Timeout was in 2, so that's great. What about the printers? Printer 6. Yep, printer also went through. What about the access point? 2. Okay, everything's communicating basically. So now within our LAN, all the devices can talk to each other. Okay, they can talk to each other perfectly without any hassle. Are we good? So that's a great start, obviously. Now we just have to wait for our ISP to give us a public IP address or provide us with internet services, whether via whatever medium or whatever it is, and assign public IP address to our one interface, a public IP address, so we can basically NAT the LAN to the WAN for information to be translated into the internet back and forth. Okay. Okay, so that one is left. That one's going to be between the ISP. We don't want to do anything about that for now. Let's still focus on our LAN. What other service can we add to our network now, our LAN network? Let's go to server. If you go to the server, you know there's so many services. So this one of them is HTTP, which is the web services. let's try to play around with that one. So we're gonna allow our server to host a web server. And already the system has already put in place some default templates, and it's already enabled by default as well. So with that said, let's try and see if we can access the current default web server web page that the server has already been enabled with. And we're going to do that from PC0, or let's see, from a laptop here. And to do that, we use our browser, because our browser is what you use to access websites, right? So click on your browser and then type the IP address. Since we don't have a proper DNS configured to handle text to IP address translation, we're going to be stuck with IP address for now. Okay. So the server's IP address is 192.168.10.5. And once we hit enter, this is the web page that's already currently by default housed on it. It says, welcome to Cisco Packet Tracer, opening doors to new opportunities. The minds are wide open. And then various other small pages, quick links. You have a small page over here, back hello world, copyright information, go back, image file, Cisco, go back, and basic image. Okay, so you do have these already placed on the files on the server for you as a templates. Let's modify some of these HTML tags. Let's try to modify them real quick, so at least it will reflect current changes. Okay, and you can do that by going back to the you can do that by going back to the server, and then these are the images that were in there. The index file is the main page. So let's edit it. Click on edit, and it will show you that information you were seeing. Cisco Packet Tracer. Let's get rid of it. So this is where the programmers, the web developers come into place. So let's change the Cisco Packet Tracer to my small business network. And then I'm going to get rid of the Cisco where it's welcome to Datacom to network network design lab demo. And I'm going to get rid of all of this junk over here. We don't need all of this. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of all of this because this are not relevant to us right now. Okay, so once you're done, you save it. So we've basically edited our HTML tag, save. Already, yes. Great. Nice, save. Now let's go back to any of these machines over here. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use PC4, and then web server or web browser, and then go back to the IP address of the web server. That's 10.5, and see what is the new HTML tag that we modify or edited shows up with the new information. You notice that it shows up, my small business network. Welcome to Datacom 2 Network Design Lab Demo. So it means your web server is running. You can just add some other cool stuff to it to just build a website for it. So you have that template to start out with, bottom line. Okay, guys. So any of these guys can access the web server on your LAN network. Are we good? Okay, great. I'm going to ask you guys to unmute so we can talk a bit more about what we just sent or what we just gone through, and see where you guys at. Okay, so were you guys able to catch on?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, you know what? Since you guys are just going to talk with feedback, I'm just going to mute everybody. If you want to talk, ask a question, raise your hand then. That'll be the best option. Okay, if you want to talk, if you want to ask a question, raise your hand. So I have one. And then Samuel, I'll ask you to ask a question. Okay, Samuel, what's up?
Yes, sir. So please, can you configure the router or switch without using command prompts?
Yes, you can do it via the other interface. Yes, you do have that option. But usually, managed devices, ideally, you're supposed to use the command interface. As an engineer, a professional engineer, the command phase are the best way to. It gives you that much more elaborate access to have complete control over your device. So that's why if you want to go into like Cisco, if you want to work with Cisco devices, then ideally you should go and study for their certification program. And that's where it will teach you a lot more about configurations, command lines, various settings that you have to go through, and then write the exams at the end of the program to get your certification. Okay. So what I'm going through with you guys is just a basic stuff. If you do want to take it to the next level as a profession, to become a network engineer, then ideally I would advise you to go and take the classes so you can learn a lot more in depth and be able to write the exam so you can get the certification, which is what you're going to be requesting for at every interview if you apply for a networking position, a network job position. They will always ask for this certification. Do you have any of the vendor certifications, either Cisco, Huawei, Juniper, or whatever? They were going to ask you. If you have any of those, then your chances of getting employed are much, much higher. Okay? But if you don't have that, I guarantee you, there's nothing that shows that you are good at what Cisco configurations or Cisco network device management or network implementations or management. Okay? Even though you can have a way around it, you can always learn some of these things on your own via YouTube videos, just reading online, blogs, and what have you. But the certification is what gets you that that qualification paper, piece of document for somebody who's hiring you to actually confirm that, hey, this guy is actually a Cisco certified network engineer or a Huawei certified network engineer. Okay? Are we good? So yeah, you do have that option. Now some network devices just have the browser interface for you to do the click, 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 click. Yeah, you have that option. You can always go with that option. But as a professional engineer, network engineer, always learn the command interfaces. It gives you that complete control over your devices much, much better. That the graphical interface one doesn't really go, they don't give you that full control over the device like the way the command line does. So you do have those two options. As a beginner, maybe you can start out with the browser interface where you just go to this over here, where you can just click on some of these interfaces and then do the configurations. If you notice, what I did is over here, you can do the same thing over here. So for the interface I configured to the IP address, even though I did that via the command line, it shows up over here. You can do it over here manual as well. Like I said, you don't have that nifty gritty configurations from this interface. It's quite limited, basically. It's very limited on this interface. The most ideal required option for you to configure, manage switches or manage routers or manageable network devices is via the command line interfaces. Okay? So Samuel, that should answer your question, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay. I have Godwin. God's will. Okay. What's up, God's will?
Hey, I wanted to find out if you're going for the Cisco certification program. You have like knowledge in networking and other related fields, or you can go like as a beginner, like no knowledge at all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can go with nothing at all. No. If you're going for take a class, like it's like a professional course. There's no requirement. There's no prerequisites. No. The only prerequisite is your desire, your willingness. Okay. Yeah, that's all. You just go sign up, pay the money, and then start a class.
All right. So
they're not going to ask you for a degree or no. They're going to ask you for that.
Okay, so Ghana, IPMC and the rest, do they offer this certification program?
Yes, IPMC does. But the best place to get it from is from the Kofi Annan Institute of Technology. That's where I got mine from.
All right, sir.
Yeah, that's where I got mine from. So I already had Huawei, and then other ones at the actually the Kofi Annan, I got my security over there for the basic Huawei or the general network professional certification. I got it way long time ago, way back in college before I got here. So it was here that I got my security part. But they offer all of that. They offer all the way from the beginning level all the way to the professional level.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So got through, that's it. Who else? Nobody else? Why, someone, you still have a question again? Okay, who else? Anybody else? Okay, since there's no other question, I'm going to ask you guys to go try this out. So this is going to be part of your final design project, which accounts for 20 points. So go back, try to implement it on your own, test them out, because eventually at the final design project, you'll be going through all of this and write a report on it. So keep that in mind. No, GTC doesn't offer, I don't think they do. We used to do that at a point in time. And I used to be the tutor for the Cisco and the Huawei. And then, but because of patronage and then money issue, they got shut down. But you can go back and inquire. Go to what's the name? CPD, go to CPD and inquire about that if they do have it. I know they don't have it currently, but I might be wrong. So just go to Code, Emmanuel, right here, go to Code and ask about it, see if they offer it, okay? And the reason why we don't offer it is because we don't have the equipment. So ideally, personally, go to Kofi Annan, they have the systems in place, or go to other private institutions. They would have a set of routers and switches all in their lab where you can play with. GTUC, we don't have them. There is no lab in GTUC that has got any of those Cisco devices for you to actually play with. So if you go sign up for it, I guarantee you, you're not going to have that physical demo lab session. No. So I always recommend that you go to Kofi Annan because they have the equipment over there. They have the systems over there. They will hand it to each and every one of you who's a student over there or who is participating in the program. And then you get to play with it, get a feel of it, play around with it as and when you need it. Okay, so you can learn your stuff. They teach you the exams as well, what to expect, how to go about it, and all of that. So by the time you're done, you can write the exam and get certified at that same location as well. Okay, so Emmanuel, that should answer your question. Okay, so if that's about it, guys, go back, play around with this stuff, and hopefully you can pick up on a number of them. You just gotta play around with it, okay? Play around with it, okay? So what we've done is basically put our design plan into what? A simulated environment, and then tested it and made sure everything is working fine. So basically, if there were bugs, we would have noticed that and debugged it and what have you. Okay? All right, guys. It's been always exciting when I'm going through networking stuff because I love it. So I hope you also enjoy it. But like I said, the most important thing is you go back and then play around with it. And then if you have any questions, I'm always available. Send me a message or something and I can basically help you out. Okay? All right, with that said, we're gonna call it an evening and hope you guys enjoy your evening and the rest of the week. Okay, guys? All right.